going to say I'm the boss?
Come a little closer and lend me your ears. Don't worry, you keep yours while I keep mine.
In each episode, we'll dig into the major stories, uncover the truth, and retrieve gems from Yada's blog.
We'll discuss what's right, bark about what's wrong, wag our tails at the thrill of discovery, and take you on adventures through the exciting world we live in today. So, fasten your curiosity leash and get ready. Right then, coming to you with another episode of the Yada's Vlog on a Blog. Tomorrow's news, disseminated today. Let's dive in.
All right. Well, I'm just a little bit trepid here with the Wookiees introduction sort of rattling around, and at least in my ears as it was being played. Hopefully it was all okay as we do our live stream today. We have the infamous Roger with us. How are you, Roger?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Good. You got big shoes to fill. Captain Kirk was pretty spectacular yesterday.
Big shoes, yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a program. But speaking of big shoes, or at least big ears, or big ego, or big mouth, or big tie, or big something, big belly, I don't know. Take your pick.
It's a big tie, isn't it?
It is a big tie, and it is a big belly, and it is a really, really big mouth. Trump actually said at the close of the G7 meeting, with all of the heads of state there, I'm the boss. What kind of an arrogant a-hole does that kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, you know, he kind of is the Godfather, or at least he thinks he does. Look at what he's got going on. He's got protection rackets going on, shakedown rackets.
Yeah.
He's got his own.
He does.
He meets all the Godfather stuff there.
Yeah, he is the. Yeah, he's the Godfather, not in the sense of God, but in the sense of the mafia. It's
mafia.
He is the head of a criminal enterprise.
Yep.
And so, I'm the boss fits the criminal enterprise. All right, sir. What do we have? We'll just keep on plowing through. This is a big day for news, and looking forward to reporting it to you. Here is the arrogance of Israel. If Israel is forced to stand on its own, I don't know what the if there is. Why would you put an if? You've been played. You've been played. You were. I can't even say pushed into a corner, because you painted yourself into that corner, and Iran absolutely destroyed you in a surrender agreement for a war that you started. Pretty astounding that could happen to Israel, but that is exactly what happened to Israel. So you need to know. There's no if here, and there's no question that you are now forced to stand on your own. And oh, by the way, in today's world, that is impossible. Cannot be done. And you rely on American weapons and American support in the UN and among other nations, and you have now lost it. You need to think that through. So there is no standing on your own. I mean, you've got to deal with reality. This is where you are. You did this to yourself. You were played to destroy Gaza. That was the purpose of Al-Aqsa flood on 10/7, was to taunt you into destroying Gaza. And when you did that, you set yourself up to be condemned and isolated by the world, and that is precisely what happened. And then you doubled down by attacking Iran not once but twice, losing both times, and attacking Lebanon not once but twice, and you became the pariah nation. And Iran outplayed you in this, because you're really crappy when it comes to the court of public opinion. You are just terrible at it. And you think that the only solution is to bomb things. And you put yourself in an impossible position. You are now in a position where it is checkmate. So let's deal with it. You checkmated yourself. If you stand on your own against Lebanon, the Muslims in Gaza, in Syria, or against Iran, then you will have irritated Trump and most Americans, causing both of them to have to eat the humility of surrendering again to Iran, which is not. It might cost another 300 billion to have to surrender again to Iran. You do that, and you are completely isolated in the world. You have no weapons systems. You have no money. You have no economy. You have no trading partners. You have no one to stand up for you in the United Nations. The Fakistanian state will be shoved down your neck. So if you do that, if you stand up, which is what this says, then you're done. And if you don't stand up, that's why this is checkmate. Then Hezbollah is going to build ever more rockets. The Hamas and Gaza will do the same, and the Syrians, at the behest of the Turks, are going to do the same, and the Egyptians are going to do the same, and ultimately now, because of this deal, without any sanctions on Iran, with Iran receiving $325 billion, and an economy without sanctions, where they can import anything they want and they can sell as much oil as they want at full price, they're going to position 4 million troops to invade Israel over the next 4 or 5 years. It's going to end horrifically for you. So you don't respond, that's your fate. The prophets have spoken of it. You're going to have 4 million Iranians that are going to invade Israel. And if you do respond, it's instant suicide. Put yourself in checkmate. So the rest of this says, we are the descendants of a people who survived Pharaoh. You survived Pharaoh not because of anything you did. You were slaves there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you think about how you survived Pharaoh, because as a people, you did not survive Pharaoh. That's grotesquely wrong. That's the big issue with Israel. You did not survive Pharaoh as a people. Matter of fact, not only was it Yahweh who spared you, the very God whose name you erased, the entire time you were nothing but a-holes. You were disgusting. You were retrobates. Not only don't you get any credit for surviving Pharaoh, God killed the majority of you en route because you were so obnoxious. Moshe wanted to kill himself because you were so obnoxious. You get no credit for that. You also get no credit for surviving Rome because you didn't survive Rome. And because all 3 times it was your stupidity that brought the Roman legions on you. You invited all 3 attacks. The first one in 66 BCE with Pompey. And it was because you had 2 Grecianized Jews by Grecian names, that were fighting as to which brother would be high priest and which would be king, and high priest paid better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Pompey, because you didn't even have the fortitude to fight it out yourself. You tried to bribe other armies to come in and fight it for you, and the Romans said, no, you're not going to do that. And so you brought Pompey. And, then it was all manner of infighting that brought the Romans in under Vespasian and Titus. And then you lured them back with the stupidity of Rabbi Akiba, who is the founder of your religion, and his false messiah, Bar Kokhba. And you lured them back. And they flat out destroyed you, caused the Holocaust. You didn't survive them. You were deported. You were enslaved. You endured. If you think that is a victory, your country was taken from you. It was renamed, and you endured 17 centuries of abuse.
Yeah.
Yes.
They left out the Assyrians, didn't they? They left out the Assyrians, where there no more Israel doesn't exist anymore. It's just Yahudah, They
also left out the Babylonians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they left out both. And of course, the Inquisition. You know why the Inquisition happened? Because you created Christianity. Mm-hmm. You created the enemy that was behind the Inquisition, the pogroms, and the Holocaust. Christianity. Christianity is 100% laid at the feet of Jewish malfeasance. You trained a rabbi to be a rabbi and to misquote God in rabbinic fashion to create the New Testament. You created that monster. And oh, by the way, you didn't even mention the Islamic attacks in 1948, 1967, 1973, the intifadas. You didn't even mention any of those because you also created Islam. You created your own enemy. Islam's Quran is an amalgamation of Talmud recitals that were sold to Muhammad. Why don't you mention that? And then so you say the ones who threaten us today will be one day a chapter in history. Only if Yahweh chooses to be involved and you erased him from your lives. You're not even Yehud anymore. You call yourself Jews. You erased Yahweh's name from your lives. And you'll only it's a tiny, tiny remnant. And the few thousands of people are going to still be in Israel when this is all done. So your arrogance is going to be your undoing, Israel. And you better start listening. You either return to Yahweh. And at this point, the only way you're going to return to Yahweh is to go to yadayah.com and read the books that I have posted there, or listen to these vlogs. They're all free. I'm not asking anything of you. But your being there will depend entirely on your willingness to do that.
Well, you see the mindset all the way back at Korah when they walked away from Yahweh, not only willingly with free will, but with prejudice.
Yes,
and
the whole thing was with prejudice.
They brought them through. Then they had no protection at all going through all this period of time, and then rabbinical Judaism comes along and just puts the shackles right on them for sure.
For sure.
But that mistake there at Korah started the dominoes to fall.
Correct. Yeah, it was just a whole series of horrendous messes. That's why it's so odd that Jews would claim that they're students of the Torah, because if you're a student of the Torah, you're going to be anti-religious. If you're reading it thoughtfully, processing the material in it, you're going to be apolitical and overwhelmingly anti-religious. And you're going to realize that the words, thoughts, and opinions of Jews don't mean anything. They're just nothing but irritation to God. And that your only hope is to strip your conscience of all things religious and political and return to God based upon the text that he actually conveyed to us. And it is the antithesis of your Talmud. A socialist. Acknowledged socialist, just like New York. It's America was built because it chose free enterprise, and it rewarded free enterprise. And there wouldn't be a Washington, D.C. or a New York without the lure of free enterprise. That's what brought people here. And now that it has been built, you have Marxists that want to redistribute what others have built, even though a Marxist can't build anything. And so once it's, whoa, I'm so excited. Once it's redistributed once, it's squandered. It's all over. New York, Washington, no matter where it is. The Dems are dumb socialists. That's the reason why Trump is empowered and they don't get it. The rank and file of the Democratic Party and their primaries they're all socialists, and Marxism is a failed system.
And they're going to triple down on it with this. They're just going to continue to, we're just not socialist enough. That's why we're not winning elections. They're just going to,
They haven't spread enough dough around to everybody yet.
That's the whole Marxist mentality. We're going to punish success and we're going to reward failure. And if you do enough of that, guess what you get?
Yeah.
Ubiquitous failure.
Everybody's hungry.
This is funny. You don't need no comment necessary. The only difference between those con men is one of them would charge you for the Kool-Aid. Look at that. Look at the slime pit of the reflecting pool, and look at what happened to the White House.
Mhm.
Oh my God, we're turning Washington D.C. into Gaza. Oh, what a travesty!
I spent many years dealing with algae, and I can tell you,
Mhm.
I could have a crew out there in 24 hours or less get that thing sparkling clean, or it would stay clean. And I don't know
Really?
what they're doing wrong, but it's a simple fix. Just takes manpower
Well, okay.
and some
You know,
chlorine.
yeah, well, chlorine. Yeah, that my fix for algae has always been either bromine or chlorine, and both of them seem to work pretty well. But if you go light on your bromine and chlorine, particularly when you're in the tropics with the high heat that
Yeah.
we have here, particularly if you have a bottom of something that is that draws heat as opposed to reflects heat, man, it turns nasty in a heartbeat. But this dum-dum, everybody on Earth that has any experience could tell you that you take a pool like this that doesn't have circulating water and doesn't have a chlorinating system, and you paint the bottom of it a dark color, that is what you're going to get.
A swamp.
A swamp. Put the alligators in. The alligators don't
Yeah.
like the bromine, though, very much, or the chlorine. So it's just
No.
you pump lots of chlorine. Now, one of the problems of course, putting a lot of chlorine at this stage is that there is so much algae there. All that algae is going to die, and it's going to go to the bottom, and there is no circulation for this reflecting pool. No filter.
You'd have to drain the pool and pump it out, sweep it out.
Yeah,
Goes in
yeah,
there.
you'd have
They
yeah.
converted that
Right.
to river water a long time ago. I think they're still pumping river water into this pool.
Yeah. The only thing you can do at this point is to completely drain it,
Yeah.
kill the algae, and then chlorinate it going forward.
One of the aspects that algae has is if the cement bottom, I'm assuming it's cement, if the cement bottom isn't sealed, there's pores in cement. And the roots of the algae will get down in those pores. You can bleach it all you want. Within just a few hours, it's going to start to come back on its own. You
Really?
got to get it out of the pores, which really takes a little more effort to do.
Mm. Okay. We have an expert. You know, yeah, I think the bid for that was like 20 billion.
we
Would you accept a billion to fix it? Be cheap.
You could come in with a stellar underbid and make some serious cash. Yes.
I tell you
You
what.
could, yeah.
I don't want to get into the swamp.
But the thing is, you wouldn't even need your hard hat. I don't think it's ever more than like 3 feet deep, so you wouldn't even need your hard hat. Imagine that we have fallen so far in our valuation of companies that failure is rewarded. Losing money is now highly valued. You have a company and SpaceX that is comprised of 3 things that have done nothing but lose money and will always lose money and have no chance of ever making money. When you're in a position where your main business on SpaceX is delivering satellites into orbit, and you have a 95% market share on delivering satellites, and you're losing money with a 95% market share, then you are really in trouble because your market share can never go up. And that means that the price that the customers are willing to pay isn't going to go up. You already have the advantage of monopoly. If you have the advantage of monopoly and you can't make that a slot machine, you're in really serious trouble. So there is no chance whatsoever that SpaceX is going to make money when they already have a monopoly and putting up satellites, and there is zero future on colonies on the moon, and even less than zero future on colonies on Mars, and even more stupid would be data centers in space. So it got nothing, and there is no way to make money on AI, and he's a nobody in the AI area. So SpaceX is going to crumble like Tesla is going to crumble. And this guy's going to go from being a trillionaire to a soup kitchen.
Yeah. kind of already is a soup kitchen with the amount of government contracts. I'm just saying that
it is. Yeah,
Well, you're gonna
this is if there ever was government welfare. Well, right now you've got government welfare in this man. That is what you got.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So Donald Trump says that that Iran is not getting $300 billion. Now, I read the agreement yesterday on the $300 billion, and we're going to read the final version of it today because we have absolute affirmation of what the final version is because it has his initials and signature on it. So we have absolute proof that what we're going to share with you today is the final version. And it says that Iran gets $300 billion and the United States is responsible for it. And it is to rebuild Iran. So there's only two options here, and you can pick whichever one you want. Either Trump is lied when he created the agreement, that he created an agreement with a country that has a known lie in it, that he did not intend to honor that which he had written and signed. That's not good. Or he's lying about having written it and signed it.
Are his lips moving?
Yes.
And those are the only options. I mean, those are your only options. It's written in the agreement. So he is lying about the fact that it's not in the agreement. And if he intended to not honor the agreement, then he lied in the agreement, so that Iran is dealing with somebody who would deliberately lie in the agreement that they have written. And by the way, he has already violated his own agreement. We'll talk about that at the first paragraph of his agreement. The agreement pledges that neither party will threaten violence on the other. Do you know how many times already he said, if I don't like the final agreement, we'll go back to bombing them again? 4. Right. So he has violated his own agreement 4 times.
Ink's not even wet.
Ink's
not dry. You mean? Yeah,
dry. Yeah.
He'll read it. Deception is one of his traits.
And
it is
it's one thing for him to try to say that this is the option for the United States to invest $300 billion, right? Because I've heard that bandied about. I've heard him say that this is, we can invest $300 billion into Iran, and even that's the confabulation of no. This is you give them money and go away. I mean, there's no investing in Iran. You're not getting any return.
What the deal basically has is Iran is making a very, very minor, if non-concession, on 2 points. One is that it's continuing to reassert that it's not going to build a nuclear bomb. They've been asserting that now for 20 years. So they're continuing to assert they won't build a nuclear bomb. And they're saying that they will open the Strait of Hormuz, but on a bunch of conditions, and that for 30 days, the Strait of Hormuz will be toll-free. But the price to get those two things is $325 billion and the removal of all sanctions, which is worth far more than the $325 billion. In other words, Trump bribed them big to give 2 things that he already had before the war.
Yeah.
That's really stupid.
Yes, that is really stupid. Dumb.
Yeah.
So you look at this picture. It's Gaza. What do you see? I know what I see, but I'd like to ask you, what do you see?
Tent city.
Oh, there's not even tent city. I mean, it's just piles of rubble. There's people there, but it's piles of rubble. There is nothing.
The streets are even gone. The streets are a running sewer. And there are dilapidated tents that, by the way, wouldn't even shed water, most of these.
Mm-hmm. Plant roof, yeah.
Yeah, pieced together amongst rubble as far as the eye can see.
You're seeing exactly what Yahya Sinwar wanted.
You are. That is what you're seeing. You're seeing what Sinwar wanted.
Yeah.
This is exactly the image of the world. If you're looking at this image, what you should see is Israel bombed people who could not defend themselves into oblivion. Now, were they angered into doing it? Absolutely. The Muslims from Gaza were savages. Do I have any compassion for the people that were bombed into oblivion? No, because they not only brought this on themselves, they celebrated it. They celebrated torturing, abducting, mass murdering Jewish women, children. It was horrendous. But I also recognized, even before it happened, that if Israel did this thing, they would destroy their standing in the world. And they did this thing, and that's what that picture says, is that Israel is belligerent, that Israel is deadly, that Israel is a pariah, that Israel can't survive or the world can't survive with Israel, that this is Israel's solution. That's what it says. And it's tragic.
They'd be better off in the desert because at least it would be flat and clean. You
But
know,
no, but that's not their purpose. What's the purpose
Yeah.
of the Muslims in Gaza? The purpose of the Muslims in Gaza is to
Is
be a threat to
irritate-
Israel.
Mhm.
They're only a threat to Israel if they put their tents and their sewer in the midst of their roads and their tents in the midst of the rubble. That way they are the thorn in Israel's side that Muslims wanted. The purpose of doing 10/7, Alaska flood, was for that exact purpose. And so they can't leave and go into the desert. But of course, this, by the same token, the world's got to accept the reality that Israel did not remove Hamas,
Mhm.
and that there is no way to go into Gaza. Even if Hamas was gone, you could not restore what we're looking at here. That is not restorable. There's not even enough room in Gaza to take all of this with the bulldozers they would need to bury it. And Israel is never going to allow another bulldozer in there, considering what the bulldozers did to their fence. So there's not going to be the allowance of those bulldozers, and there aren't enough bulldozers and trucks and enough space to dump all of this. So yeah, the only answer was to put them into the Sinai. But the problem of putting them into Sinai, then there is no control over their weaponry and support, and they're going to flood over the border of Israel far better armed and in far greater numbers than would otherwise be the case. So when Israel did this, they put themselves in a terrible position, because now they're responsible for the feeding and care of people whose religion is devoted to annihilating them.
Mhm.
Imagine that. You put yourself in a position that you must feed and care for and provide water and electricity for those who are devoted to killing you. And you're going to be condemned for doing that.
Mhm.
All the while you're condemned for destroying Gaza. And this isn't salvageable. It will never be salvageable. In fact, what Yahweh says 7 years from now, I'm going to turn it into goat pastures. But
Yeah.
even then, it's going to take some work.
Yeah,
Well-
because remediation alone, I mean, you know what it takes on a project like these buildings aren't brand new. They're built with leaded materials, all the stuff that people would consider, the plastics that are in furniture, everything that was in those buildings is now, dust. I mean,
Toxic.
I don't even know
Toxic.
that you can remediate it.
You can't. No, there's no way to remediate this. I mean, and Gaza is just destroyed. There is
Mhm.
literally no way to remediate this. That's why his peace council has accomplished nothing, because it can't be solved. This is
Mhm.
an absolute unmitigated disaster. It cannot be resolved. It is a sore on Israel's reputation for the next 7 years. It's going to be justification for the all but obliteration of Israel.
Well, what I see here is I see a perfect propaganda picture.
Yes, you do.
And it's just feeding right into the
Mhm.
narrative that gives the anti-Israelis their motives.
Yes, yeah. But would this propaganda picture be possible without Israel's compliance? Without Israel's involvement in it? They didn't bomb their own buildings.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we can be mad that this is a propaganda picture. We can be upset that the whole 10-7 was done to create this image so that Muslims could blame Israel for being genocidal and condemn the nation and isolate it and demonize it. We can be upset, and we should be. But the fact is, Israel has lost the ability to compete in the world of public opinion. And they did this thing. And since they can't frame the issue, the conclusion is that they're a pariah. I wish it were not so, but they did this to themselves. It's like when he's just so frustrated. What right does Iran have to tell Israel what it can and cannot do in Lebanon? I said, well, because Israel gave them that right by attacking Iran twice and losing in a war they had no chance of winning. They gave Iran that right, and they particularly gave Iran that right when they talked America both times into supporting them in that war, which was a complete loser. And eventually the U.S. is going to look for a way out, and the only way out is to sacrifice Israel. So they did this to themselves. They really have no one to blame but themselves, and that's the same story of the Exodus. Boy, eyeliner boy. I wonder if he's also doing lipstick. I don't think we go to the same makeup
A little
artist
lip-
for these
Lip
programs.
gloss, maybe.
Yeah, maybe
Lip
a little lip
gloss.
gloss. Yeah. It's of course, this is a pretty close up on me here. You're pretty close up there too, Roger. And I do have an extensive wardrobe and makeup session for these shows. I will I'll quite often go to the sink, and I'll put some water in my hands and push the hair back so that it's not in my face, and that's the makeup part of it. And then I'll go wardrobe. I'll go into the closet and say, I don't think I wore that shirt yesterday. How about that one? That doesn't smell bad or anything. I'll put that one on. That's we have Rich. It's at least a 20-second wardrobe and makeup for these programs. I have been known to actually splash water in my face because we have the Sahara dust and it gets the sand out of your eyes. So yeah, sometimes we go way overboard on the makeup and wardrobe. But he's a pretty boy, man. He is eyeliner, he's lip gloss.
He tries hard.
Yes, and,
I wouldn't call him a pretty boy, but he tries hard.
Yeah, he tries hard. I don't mean pretty boy as a compliment. But he's all upset, and his deal is he wants to appeal to the Twistians, but what he doesn't recognize is that Twistian MAGAs are not enough to get somebody elected, pal. And he says, if you believe that Jesus is the Son of God and he rose from the dead on the third day, it was a dead God. Imagine that. And a person named the Son of God who isn't named in any of the 1,000 years of prophecy. God has 1,000 years of prophecy. There was some 40 prophets. The standard publishing is about 1,500 pages of material. And Jesus isn't mentioned once. And you want to say he is the Son of God. And that he was killed by men. And that his great proof is he pulled off the Egyptian stunt. He rose from the dead in a physical body. Imagine that. There's a lot of progressives that will say you're a crazy person. Yeah, I want to say you're a crazy person. You believe any of that? You are a crazy person.
I'm not progressive, and I can say that. So there's a lot of people.
I'm
period.
definitely not progressive, but I'm here to tell you, you are a crazy person. If you believe the lies that underlie Christianity, which is just literally one pile of demonic lies after another, you're a crazy person. You're stupid. You're either ignorant or you're irrational, or both.
Or both.
Yeah.
News
It's enough to
wants
get you
promote
kicked off a
this.
jury. It's enough to get you kicked off a jury. That the question asked that way, you're incapable of understanding reason, and so you can't
Right.
be a juror in this trial. Yeah.
Right.
That's how I get kicked off of one. That
You
was
did?
my strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was only unable to get out of jury duty once, and I actually had to show up for the jury room, and they asked me like two questions, and they say you won't work and go home. So it probably, I'm 71 years old, and it's inconvenienced my life at least 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
not doing that.
No.
Actually, I don't think. I'm trying to think. I'm not sure. I think there's only one time that I've actually seen, no, twice that I've seen the inside of a courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
I have never was sued, and until I came to this island, and was part of two lawsuits on this island. A lot of malfeasance when you get into the Caribbean. And I had a friend that represented me and settled both cases for more than I would have thought could have been achieved. Tremendous success, and with a minimal amount of effort in both cases. And other than that, the only times I've actually been in a courtroom is I tried to help a young man who later turned on me. And I showed up at his trial and was just horrified as to how bad the judge was. And I served as an expert witness in a case. That just because it was a friend of mine that was bringing the case. They needed expert witness on airplanes. I know a lot about airplanes. And so that's it. Not much for courtrooms. I learned a long time ago that America does not have a justice system.
Mm.
We have a legal system. And that legal system does not care about right or wrong or fair. If you're looking for fair, that's not fair, and you use that term in front of an attorney, they'll say, you need to wake up and understand. We do not have a justice system. We have a legal system. What's fair is meaningless as you go forward here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sad but true.
This was pretty amazing. That the green there is the hundreds of thousands of hours in America that Americans are spending having romances with their AI companions. And the red is the time that they're spending on social dating sites, computer dating sites. So, it's a big number on social on dating sites as opposed to trying to actually meet people out in the real world. But they're spending more than twice the amount of time with AI companions.
Yeah.
Dear AI, am I a handsome fellow? Do you really love me? Tell me the truth, AI.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's always on. It's always there. It always tells you what you want to hear. I mean, what?
And I'm sure they can take on any pretty form that you want them to take on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the
What
language
Elon
models,
Musk
but
does.
yeah.
Pardon?
That's what Elon Musk does.
Oh, it's what he does,
He's
yeah.
so totally fascinated with his AI characters.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He's lost in that imaginary world of. There's nobody in the real world that wants to deal with him, so he creates artificial girls to play with him. But that's what this is. Pretty sad.
Kind of reminds me of Blade Runner, where they made the little dolls to talk to.
Yep.
And yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That's a great movie, by the way. One of Harrison
Yeah.
Ford's coming out films. He was spectacular in that. I think
Sean,
probably one of the top 50 movies of all time. Certainly, maybe even in the top 25. Very well crafted movie.
Yeah.
Sean Young's in that too, by the way. Just saying.
yeah. The book is good too, but the book's not called Blade Runner. It's called "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?"
Mm-hmm.
Is the name of the book that it was taken
Wow.
from,
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
and it's a pretty good read too.
Yeah, I bet so. I have not read the book. I've seen the movie, obviously, because I think it is a classic. And I'm a Harrison Ford fan. I think Harrison Ford's portrayal of Han Solo and of Indiana Jones are just two of the most engaging, lovable rogue kinds of pictures. It's when I've said it the last time that I mentioned Harrison Ford and his ability. And actors typically play themselves, and he, of course, is playing himself in both of those movies. That's how I got the hat, the Indiana Jones hat, and digging in the dirt, and in some of those, in some of our portrayals. Look at this. Boy, talking about shit on a shingle. You got Mertz over there. You got Starmer. You got Rahab, and you've got Macron. Yeah, I think of the
Four
world's
of them
in a
are
mess.
doomed. They are doomed, and they don't even know
Those,
it. Mhm.
those are their popularity. If you were to combine the popularity of those four goons, I'm not sure you would get to a majority, even if you combine them. Mertz is down in the 15%. Starmer is in the 10%. Macron is, I don't know, sub 10%. And Trump, he's got the MAGA true believers here at about 38. So I guess you'd get, because of Trump's MAGAites and their insanity, you'd get to 50%, but barely.
Yeah, it is a Europe that is ripe for war, just so these guys can stay in power. You know,
That's exactly
So it's a
and that is what people do. They politicians, when they're on the way out and they have no options, they declare war because people rally around their leaders during times of war.
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's a little little self-liking group there, little group like.
They actually
they
hate
don't
each
even
other.
like each other. Yes.
Oh
I
no,
was
they
gonna
hate
say,
each other. Look at Starmer's expression.
Mhm.
They hate each other. I'm the boss.
Where's Zelensky?
Where's Zelensky? Yeah, too busy
The
bombing
camera might
Russian
be too high
refineries.
to show him.
Yeah.
He doesn't qualify for G with a great, I guess.
Yep. Yeah. Here is the dumpster. He is at the G7, and he is fanning the flames of his agreement. And what he's saying is the reason that I negotiated this deal, but by the way, he didn't negotiate the deal. He was given the terms of surrender. Those terms of surrender haven't changed really from Iran's 10-point plan that we talked about 2 months ago. But it is lose-lose, which is Satan's way. But he claims that he had to do the deal because he was so concerned about the world going into economic collapse. And the only reason the world would go into economic collapse is because the Strait of Hormuz was closed. But the Strait of Hormuz wasn't closed before he started his war. So he's now saying, I'm going to buy my way out of my mistake with $325 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, dumpster.
Shrewd, very shrewd.
Oh, shrewd, man. I'm going to bankrupt America even further to buy myself out of the mistake I made. And then I want to pat myself on the back for saving the world economically.
I just got to wonder how all that would be cut up. Who'd get what cut, what percentage on down the line, how far that's going to be spread throughout the community.
Oh, well, in Iran, the 325 billion.
Yeah.
Well, I think Iran's going to do a number of things with it. I think clearly they're going to spread some amongst the people who were supportive of them and sacrificed during this war. They're obviously going to increase their manufacturing prowess in missiles, which will be really easy for them to do because they won't be sanctioned now, and will be able to have access to more solid fuel boosters, which are instantly ready. They're vastly superior to liquid fuel boosters. They make them, but they'll have all the components to make them in much greater quantity. They will increase their drone manufacturing capability. They'll build more factories underground. They will arm and train the 4 million that will be invading Israel over the next few years. I mean, there's a lot of things they're going to do with it. And, and the thing too about Iran that's quite different than other countries is there are no super wealthy entrepreneurs. The people that were making big money on oil back in the days of the Shah are living in Brentwood right now. So what is an Ayatollah going to do with bucks? What is a Islamic Revolutionary Guard going to do with a bunch of bucks? It would go against their whole mentality. So, the majority of it, I think, will be used responsibly, and the others will be used to build up their military to destroy Israel.
Yeah. makes
Yay for Trump.
It makes perfect sense they'd put it to work in that way, for sure.
Yeah, it'll be a blend of all those things. They're going to continue to engender the loyalty of the citizens by having not only won the war against the United States and Israel, but by enriching them and spreading money around that community and saying, this was in gratitude for what you've done. But at the same time, and it's not going to take big money, but they'll have plenty of money because now they no longer will be selling oil at a discount. All sanctions are lifted. They won't have any problem importing anything. They'll go back to their tolls very soon on the Strait of Hormuz. But between the sanctions, the tolls, and the $325 billion, it puts Iran in a really, really favorable position.
Yeah, I wonder if
And
they
by
have
the way,
enough.
that's going to be it's. By the way, it's more than that because all of the Arab fiefdoms around them are going to be paying protection money.
Yeah,
Good go.
I wonder if they have enough people and enough construction industry to ramp up all the building projects because they have airports to rebuild. They have
Bridges,
public
dams,
infrastructure to rebuild, bridges,
hospitals,
aqueducts, all this,
schools.
hospitals, schools. Yeah, I mean, I wonder how fast they can ramp up.
Well, the interesting thing is
construction.
they don't have to ramp up the building of their nuclear program or of their missile program or their drone program or anything of that nature because they were already underground and they were unfazed.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the money they can spend on public processes because even when sanctioned, they had plenty of money to bury everything, and the West made no dent in any of it. So their military infrastructure hasn't been hurt at all, and they don't want a conventional Navy. It wouldn't do them any good, and they don't want an Air Force. Wouldn't do them any good. So they'll double down on what got them here, and one of the reasons they're in a position to say we don't want a nuclear bomb, they didn't want a nuclear bomb previously. They don't want to destroy Israel. They want to conquer Israel. That's the goal. And since they have 4 million men that will be armed that are going to march into Israel, the last thing they want to do is to detonate a nuke there that would make it impossible for them to invade Israel. They want the Great Jihad, and the Great Jihad has to be into a place that hasn't been nuked. So that's why Iran never built their nuke, and they may have them now, but they're not going to blow them up in Israel. That they'll use them for other purposes. We were talking yesterday about how this deal was so one-sided and so grotesque that it reminded us of the Treaty of Versailles. Do you know where this document was signed?
Versailles, yeah.
In the Palace of Versailles. It was signed in
crazy.
exactly the same place. So the very Treaty of Versailles, signed on June 28th of 1919, that charged Germany with what was then $30 billion in reparations, was signed there in the Palace of Versailles, and it brought on World War II. And this one, who knows? It could bring on World War III, but it was signed in exactly the same place. I would ask you, though, do you know what $30 billion, which was the fine on Germany for war reparations, what is $30 billion in today's dollars? Do you know?
Only because I read the Post. I think it's $300 billion.
That is correct. That is what we've done to our currency. That's how deficit spending and keeping the illusion that there is solvency by increasing the monetary supply, quantitative easing. That is what it has done to the value of the currency. The U.S. currency since 1919 has been devalued to the point that 30 billion then is 600 billion today. Pretty astonishing, isn't it? That's what, a 95% devaluation of the currency?
Yep.
Yeah.
I could tell it at the grocery store this morning.
Yeah, it's boy, you come here and you look at the price of eggs or meat or anything. It's even building materials. I could not do what we did in terms of the restoration of this property. Things are just prohibitively expensive.
I would have found, I mean, just leave the country for, go sign it in front of the Eiffel Tower. Of all the places, why couldn't you just find anywhere else, right? You know?
Yeah, well,
Anywhere else.
egotistical. He wanted to go down in history. But
Oh,
you know,
he's-
the problem is when you have a deal, and this is the problem that Iran's going to have to deal with, is that just like the Treaty of Versailles, it was so one-sided that it wasn't honored, and it brought war. This deal is so one-sided in favor of Iran. They negotiated too good a deal, and when you negotiate a one-side deal, it's never honored by the other side. So they actually erred in pushing it too far in favor of Iran, and you can do that in a deal. That's why I talk about deals all the time. I know infinitely more than the dumpster here does, and all of my deals, I would talk about them. We'd find out, we'd always begin as to what do you need? What do you want? What do you have to offer? We'd all share that. We'd come up with a mutually beneficial deal that was great for everybody. We shake hands on it. And I said, just so that there's no misunderstanding, I'm going to write down, put in writing what we agreed to. And I want you to read it through and correct anything that you think that I have mistaken here. And now we'll have a written affirmation of what we agreed to do. And you never need a lawyer. You never need a formal contract because both parties are naturally prone to want to execute that deal as it was discussed. And I done thousands of them in my life like that.
Mhm.
And that's not what this deal is. This is a surrender by the United States.
Wow.
Pretty boy there. And Pretty Boy there wants you to know that everybody's going to be safe when the transgender girl at a school feels safe. Then everybody's going to be safe if she's safe. You piece of crap. Have you no concept? Have you ever thought through anything in your life? Ever done any research? Do you know what percentage of transgender children are depressed, clinically depressed?
90%. Mhm.
Do you know what percentage of transgender children attempt suicide? Over 60%.
Wow.
A transgender child is never safe. And it's idiots like you that put them in that position. They are never safe. And their greatest threat is themselves because it is so depressing. And no cure for that depression. And that most of them end up taking their own lives. So think it through.
The whole idea of transgenderism and promotion of transgenderism, it just completely blows my mind. I don't understand it whatsoever. I mean, absolutely no one gets anything at all out of it. You know,
No,
I mean,
no.
I-
Well, there's a group that does. The Marxists, the progressives, the socialists want to control society by imposing their morality on society, and their morality is really weird. And the weirder their morality, the more influence they have over society. And you now, since transgender and it used to be, lesbian, bisexual, gay, and homosexual. But now it's an acronym that's as long as your arm. You can't even keep track of all of the letters now.
whatever mental disorder you have, we love you too.
Whatever it is,
That's-
if you want to be
yeah.
a duck, a furry, I mean, you name it. What they have done is replaced normalcy, and a society doesn't function unless men and women come together and have children and raise those children. That's the foundation of society. It has been forever. And when you screw that up, you've screwed up everything. And they've screwed that up, and they've done it deliberately. And as we've talked about on this program so many times, I do not care if you are a lesbian or you're a gay man or you are bisexual. Do not care. I do care if you're into bestiality. I do care if you're a pedophile. I do care if you're into incest. I do care if your thing is rape. And when you promote things like transgender that are so caustic to the victim, and you make them think that that's okay, that's tragic. It's just tragic. You're destroying lives. You're telling people they weren't okay the way they were. They have to be something that they're not. The only way they can be okay is to be something they're not. And I think it's just devastating. But again, I don't care if you're if you're gay or lesbian or bisexual. But I do care if you promote being gay, lesbian, or bisexual as not only normal but superior. It isn't normal. It isn't superior. It's inferior and it's abnormal. And it's okay to be abnormal. It's okay to make choices that are not in your interest. You have the freedom to do so. But do not promote them educationally in schools and in the media as if that was a good thing, pal. You're wrong. You're just dead wrong.
These are not new things, okay? Homosexuality is not a new thing. We understand this, right? I mean, and it's even not even more prevalent, okay, now than it was in the past, okay? What is different now?
I would agree with you. I think that I don't think either lesbian or gay men are more prevalent or less prevalent than they were in the past. I do think that bisexual women are probably a lot more prevalent. With the under 40s, it's probably 60% of women are bisexual under age 40. I think that is definitely a mechanism of today's world where men have become effeminate and women want everything, and we've kind of made a mess of our world. But hypocritically, I would say a woman thinking another woman is attractive and beautiful. I can't blame him for that, So I'm right with him on that. So a woman who is bisexual doesn't bother me at all. In fact, I say, yeah, okay, good for you. I would agree with you. Women are beautiful. I think a woman who is lesbian is their choice, but they're missing something that's really great in life. And a man who is homosexual, I've had lots of friends. I've had lots of employees that were homosexual, and great relationships with them. But our deal is you leave your sexuality out of our discussion and out of all of this, and we can get along on other subjects. But to me, it does creep me out. I just think it's a really weird thing. So, but that's my choice to say it creeps me out, and their choice to say that's what they love, and we can still get along fine. Just don't
my issue
push it
is
on me and don't promote it on my
I think it's
children.
criminal to promote. Exactly. I think it's criminal to promote it to children because I think that you have this age of majority idea in the United States and throughout most of the world where you can't go pick up a gun and go kill for your country at 18 years old. You can't drink. You can't consume alcohol legally in most places until you're 21 years old. But yet this idea that, this idea that you can make informed
can't go on to social
about,
media until you're 16 in most countries now.
Well, yeah, exactly. So and yet these decisions can be made that affect your entire life,
And it's because of the promotion, the propaganda in academia with the Marxists and in the media with the liberal Marxists. They're the ones who are promoting it, and it's a shame. It's unhealthy.
Exactly. And I saw an article the other day. It was about the transgenderism in not women's, but girls' sports in schools.
Yes.
And how it's taking over. And there's actually been lawsuits and criminal cases filed for transgender boys raping non-transgender girls, in wrestling and other sports. It's just, and it's forcing the non-transgender girl to make decisions earlier in life that she shouldn't have to make.
Correct.
It's going to affect her downstream.
Yeah. And listen, I'm a person who advocates free will. And so as an adult, if an adult wants to do transgender surgery or drugs, and they're willing to pay for it so that they don't get their antidepressant medication paid by the taxpayer, they don't get their surgeries paid by the taxpayer, they don't get their shrink counseling time paid by the taxpayer. They make the decision they want to do it as an adult, and they pay to have it done as an adult. And they don't go around and promote it to children to do the same thing, then it doesn't bother me. Go ahead and do it. Do not care. But when it's the way it is now, it's a tragedy for society.
Mhm.
It's really a travesty what we've done, and the increase in suicides and in depression are a legacy of that. I don't know what the percentage is of transgender rape and sexual abuse versus non-transgender rape and sexual abuse. I don't know what the statistics are, so it's hard for me to comment on whether or not that's a part of the equation. But the suicide rates and the depression rates are public and very well known. It's one of the things, by the way, if you Google or just go to any AI, they don't want to answer any questions regarding that. They're trained to skirt that issue. And so you actually have to find the research and review it, because the AIs won't give it to you.
And I want to be clear about one thing too. This is a percentage of the population that is statistically non-existent. We're talking about less than 1% of the population. You know what I'm saying when it comes to transgenderism worldwide. And so much is made about the simple fact that we're talking about something that affects 1% of the population of the world blows my mind. That why is this even an issue? Why
transgenderism was a tiny fraction of 1%. I mean, less than 1/100th of 1%. It isn't that now. It's actually because it's become so promoted that it's and it's like being anti-Semitic today. You're only cool if you're anti-Semitic, and so I have all sorts of friends that have transgender sons and daughters.
There's a lot of money involved.
Well, there is a lot of
Look
money
at
involved,
what
but it's
Vanderbilt University got caught. Their entire medical center promoting it, making tens of millions of dollars, showing a profit they have never had before.
Yeah, and it's not being paid for by those wanting the surgeries or the treatments. It's being paid for by taxpayers who are opposed to it. That is unfair. That is absolutely not right. It's part of the one problem of socialized medicine. It's an interesting find. We've known of this find for some time because of the lead tablet that was found there that actually has the earliest impressions of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. That, in fact, I used it to update our Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. You can go to our website if you want to have access to it. It's Yada Torah as a font. It's free. Everything on the site, of course, is free. This is Mount Ebal. It is where the children of Israel, once they crossed the Jordan River and entered the Promised Land, there's a valley in between, and I said, just for so that you understand what's at stake here. I want one group shouting that if we pay attention to, we observe, and we listen to and act upon God's Torah guidance and instructions, we're going to be blessed. The world's going to be really good for us. And if we oppose it and override it and reject it, it's going to be really bad for us. The curses are going to follow. This is the reality, and shout it back and forth so you understand this. And on this side, this was the curse side, and they found a tablet that affirms that Yahweh said we'll be cursed if we ignore his instructions. And that was extraordinary, because that's exactly what the Torah said happened exactly at this spot where Yosha had built exactly this kind of an altar. And so you have a written affirmation in Paleo Hebrew of precisely what the Torah said took place there, and the lead tablet is dated to 1400 BCE. And amongst the other artifacts was a cartouche of Thutmose the Great, who was the pharaoh of the Exodus. Pretty amazing, huh?
Wow.
Pretty tough to deny that one.
The Torah
Yeah,
coming
you got
alive.
no denials for me on any of this. I'm just wondering why they found animal bones. I understand the altar was used for things other than
they found
Pesach.
three kinds of animal bones. It's the three characters in God's story: the ram, the bull, and the goat. That's what they found. The whole story revolves around the ram, the bull, and the goat. And when you come to understand who those three characters, who they represent, then you're in a position to understand God's story. Until you do, you can't.
You know, when I look at this picture, I hadn't seen it before. This is the first time I've seen it. I just see the Torah coming alive in my mind. It just really resonates with the crossing, the Korab, the coming there, all the struggles they have, and they finally making it, and they build the altar. It just brings it all together into one good solid piece.
Yeah, I don't have a memory of this. It's interesting. I've been translating. I just finished translating everything pursuant to the birth of Moshe and his father and his mother. It's one of the most interesting episodes ever, and what it reveals. But Moshe's father lived for 137 years. 17 when he conceived Moshe through his wife, whose name was significant to Yahweh. At 137, if he conceives Moshe at 17 years old, what year does he pass away?
20 years into the Exodus?
Nope.
No.
137 years, 17 is before he conceives Moshe. He lived 120 years.
Oh,
Moshe was 40 years in Egypt. He was 40 years in Arabia. He was 40 years during the Exodus. His father was with him until the day before this occurred. The whole time his father was there. Likely his mother. God does not let those who mean the most to him struggle alone. They were there the whole time. I'm sure that 137 is just by coincidence. I'm sure it's also coincidence that Moshe was conceived to the day 600 years. 600 years after the covenant was confirmed on Mount Moriah. 600 years. You ever wonder what happened and how the timing of 600 years? That's the conception of Moshe. And you think that Yahweh went all in? I'm going to roll the dice on the liberation of my people so that there is a Israel that I can affirm my promises to, and a covenant that I can keep this world afloat. And my Torah, which is my owner's manual for how you should conduct your lives. I'm going to go all in with a 3-month-old baby tossed into the Nile in a genocidal culture. I'm going to go all in with that. Or do you think maybe he had placed his parents there, and that the first time that Moshe's soul shows up wasn't there in the Nile? Maybe he had some experience with Yahweh prior to that, like Joseph. And wouldn't Joseph's name be interesting if it said, "I'll do this again," which is what Joseph actually means? And oh, by the way, you know who raised Moshe until he was a very imposing young man, probably well into his 20s at that point? The Amma. She played the whole scene. She orchestrated all of it. Is the Amma.
Wow.
Just saying.
Wow.
You're going to get a kick out of it when we go through. This is what God arranged and how everybody has missed it.
Right.
But anyway, this took place the week after Moshe was given his aerial tour of the Promised Land, and the year that his father passed. Be redeployed again, though. He wouldn't be gone for a long time. Purely satanic, purely evil, purely deployable. He's saying, this is not the final agreement. It's a memorandum of understanding. If I don't like it, I'll go back to shooting them again. I'll be dropping bombs on their head. If I don't like it, they have to behave, or I'll go right back to dropping bombs in the middle of their head.
Sounds like a
That
threat.
doesn't make you just want to vomit. I mean, I want to puke. That man is so disgusting. He's even looking red there in satanic glow. But a man who would write that kind of shit, and to realize that patriotic Twistian MAGAs elected and empowered this piece of shit, and applaud him. I mean, you wouldn't even think Satan would be that blunt, that reprehensible. And you've seen a lot of nasty stuff in the world. Can you imagine President of the United States? I'm going to go back to dropping bombs on their head. If I don't like it, if they don't behave, we'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head.
Do they not have a rhetoric course in Wharton School of Business? I mean, the guy talks like it. He talks like me. He speaks like me. So it's like
I wouldn't mean you to that, but no, he speaks like the retard that is a deadbeat alcoholic. That's a multi-time felon.
thug.
Just a thug. You would think that this is what a hitman for the mafia would sound like.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head. Yeah.
Am I being too moral here to say I think this is reprehensible?
That's the blabbering blabbers of someone that's possessed with narcissism to the max. Just
a psychopath.
Schizophrenia.
I mean, only a
all of
psychopath
them.
could say that.
Dyslexia,
You'd have to be a
psychopath.
psychopath and a narcissist, and likely demon possessed, which he is all three, to make a statement like this.
Mhm.
It's not something a sane person would do.
No, there is no sane person has ever made a statement like that. Never in the human history. This is the rhetoric of a deeply disturbed, satanic psychopath and narcissist. to
And we're
think
just
you
getting warmed
MAGA
up.
Christians, you elected him. You should just be absolutely embarrassed.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, we're getting warmed up. He's going to be far worse as we go forward.
Mm.
Imagine that B-52 that crashed at Edwards Air Force Base. It had an 06 on board. 06 is a full bird colonel. It had 2 05s, lieutenant colonels. It had 3 04s, which are majors. Can you imagine that? And the other two guys down here, they were they're civilians.
Mm-hmm. On
They were
what is
taking a
reported as a test flight.
They were taking a joyride
Mm.
with 3 colonels taking a joyride.
Well, where I live is not very far from McCoy Air Force Base.
Mhm.
It's now called Orlando International Airport, but those original 2 runways there were designed to handle B-52 bombers and a flight of nuclear fighter jets too.
Mhm.
One day, or in 1973, one of them took off, lost an engine. Instead of going straight ahead, the pilot tried to make a U-turn back and plummeted into a city block area just north of the airport there. There's still no houses built on that site. and killed them all too.
No, there's 8 engines on that airplane. How could you crash the airplane losing one of 8?
Right. The thing is to keep going straight.
Oh,
Don't dip a wing.
you know, I owned, I've owned a lot of airplanes, and when you own high performance airplanes, you go to flight training, you go to simulator school, and 2 of those airplanes, they actually came up with the plan that if you lost an engine on takeoff, you do a 180 turn and you come back and you land downwind on the same runway that you took off, if you have reached 1,000 feet in altitude. And you realize that when you go into a bank turn like that, you lose lift. And you're in a turn like that and you don't have any power and you're trying to hold the nose up, you're going to stall. And that 99% of people that try that maneuver are going to die and they're going to kill everybody in the airplane. Where you actually have a very high likelihood in an airplane, if you just fly straight ahead and you try to find an open area, all you have to do to survive, because you're going to go from above stall speed, which, in most airplanes with full flaps and everything else, you could probably get down to 60 to 65 knots. And if you're at 65 knots, call it 70 some odd miles per hour, all you have to do is extend the stop. If you stop because you run right into the ground, you have not extended that stop. That from go to stop is instantaneous. And the G factors, when you go from go to stop, even at 20 miles an hour, is going to kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But if you slow the go to stop over 3 seconds, even 2 seconds, because you landed in a field, because you put it down on a street, because you stalled it into the tops of trees that slowed you're going to walk away. People are going to survive. The airplane's going to be all banged up. You might break a bone or two, but you're going to walk away. And they just need to teach people that if you've got a stalled engine, keep your wings level, keep the nose at an attitude that you don't stall the airplane, and put her down at a place where you go from go to stop over 2 or 3 seconds, and everybody will walk away. It's not that difficult.
So I guess what we're saying here is that you called it a joyride, and were you being serious? I mean, you think that there was a pilot that doesn't fly the B-52 every day and would be trained for?
I'm not saying that. There were 3 majors in the airplane. The first guy top right, and the first guy on the second row and the second guy on the left, they're all majors. Mm-hmm. And so it is quite possible that although it's odd to have 3 majors as the pilots and engineer, co-pilot, pilot, and engineer, you'd usually have somebody of a higher rank in the left seat, a little lower rank in the right seat, and then lower rank again as the engineer. You'd expect to have a lieutenant in there for certain. So I've every reason to think that those 3 guys were responsible for flying the airplane, and that the 3 colonels were not, unless one of those colonels decided, because I outrank you and at one time I was a pilot, I want to sit in the left seat. I want to fly the bird. And so it is very possible that one of those colonels was sitting in the left seat. It's even possible the other one was in the right seat. It's very possible that one of them took the flight controls and they weren't up to speed on flying those airplanes. And, you're dealing with a jet airplane, even a turboprop airplane. You have to fly it every week to be current in that airplane. And you got to fly it in all manner of difficult situations. And you got to go to simulator school so you know how to handle emergencies, so that you're in emergencies, you have a muscle reaction. You know exactly what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. And if you're flying an airplane all the time, it's one of the great life lessons, because an airplane tells you a lot about how to live your life if you're doing things that are important. When I fly an airplane, I am anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour in front of where that airplane is. I am never in that airplane in the moment, ever. You're always out way ahead of the airplane, so that you know what's going to happen, what could possibly happen. And you're always going through scenarios. If this happens, then I do this. If this happens, I do that. And so like taking off, you're only going to be a matter of from seconds to minutes ahead of the airplane. Landing, you're going to be, depending on the type of airplane and where you're going to be anywhere from minimum of 15 minutes, but typically an hour out in front of the airplane. And you practice that over and over again. It is a discipline that you learn to imagine. And if you're going through life, whether I'm writing a book or I'm doing these shows, I'm always out in front of where we are. I'm thinking, where are we going next? And what are we going to convey when we get there? Because if you get in the moment, you've lost all initiative. You've lost control over the situation. You get very easy to play when you get caught up in the moment. That's what Israel didn't do as it relates to its war with Gaza and its war with Iran and in Lebanon, is they got caught up in the moment as opposed to being ahead. Consequence is such an important thing, and an unintended consequence is something you need to be able to deal with. And that's my whole life in business and in as a yacht captain and airplane captain. I'm not the quality of the diver that you are, but I'm a certified diver. You're always out in front of where you are. And you've always rehearsed every emergency before it occurs. So you know what you're going to do, and you're going through all of the potential things that can go wrong. And you're even playing the things that go right. I remember in business, the reason I succeeded is that I had practice conversations on the way to a meeting. I would bring up in my mind everything that the potential customer would have to say that was contrary to what I wanted to accomplish. And I realized that if I framed what I was my response, and it was spontaneous, a good response to the spontaneous is infinitely superior than the perfect response that's delayed by an hour. So that's what we did. Yeah. And obviously that did not happen here, and it doesn't happen much in life anymore. People are behind the curve. Israel's been behind the curve. It's why they're so vulnerable now. America's behind the curve. That's why it's so vulnerable now.
Big time.
So you don't like long walks on the beach then, right?
No, and they're not going to spend time in the prophets, because the prophets are a historic clue manual as to what's going to happen in the future. And if you know what's going to happen in the future, then you're prepared for it before it occurs. And so you're living through the prophets in advance of where you are. Like we say, this is tomorrow's newspaper delivered today. I know where we're going, and I can tell you where we're going and how you can prepare yourself for it. And one of the things that's just critical is don't live your life in the moment. Be ahead of where you are.
Good advice.
So, from Israel's point of view, President Trump's agreement to win the war with Iran is a disastrous deal because it accomplishes none of Israel's war claims. Wrong. Okay. It didn't accomplish any one of Israel's war claims, and none of Israel's war aims were accomplishable. They were not going to get regime change. It was impossible under those circumstances. They weren't going to eliminate Iranian missile production. It was impossible under their circumstance. And they were not going to eliminate Iran's nuclear stockpile. They were not going to get any one of those three things done, nor were they going to sow chaos in the region so that they could have Israeli hegemony. So Israel's goals were impossible, but that is not the reason that this deal is a disaster for Israel. God, get your head out of your tuchus, people. Why can't anybody think that is not the reason that this deal is a disaster for Israel? It's not because they didn't meet their war goals. America didn't meet any of its either. Trump had 4 things he wanted to achieve. He got none of the 4. That isn't the reason it's a disaster. The reason it's a disaster is that Israel was put in a place where it's checkmate. No matter what they do, it's certain destruction of the Israeli state. That is why it's a disaster. They played themselves into checkmate.
And they don't even see it yet. They don't even see it yet because
Rich, God bless him, has been all over X saying to all of those, the Israeli posters that, he told you this was going to happen at this time in this way as a result of this person 2 years ago. He repeated it through tens of thousands of posts, and not one of you listened. And now you know it's for real. What are you going to do? He's the only one who told you what was going to happen. You all disagreed with him, and he was right. Now, how are you going to do? Israel played themselves into checkmate. There is no answer for Israel. Just like we constantly said, there's no way out of this war with Iran other than surrender. And that's what it turned out to be. Well, there's no solution for Israel. It's checkmate.
Well,
They can't defy Trump, and they can't allow Trump to control them. It's either way. It's certain death immediately one way, and it's certain death a year or two delayed the other.
They're looking in the wrong place. They're relying on their rabbis, their rabbinical types, rabbinical Judaism. They're relying on their IDF when they should be relying on Yahweh.
On their politicians,
they're
nowhere close to that, because they're so enamored and reliant and egotistical about what they think it means to be Jewish, what they think it means to be Israeli, what they think is their what it is to practice Judaism. What they think about the IDF. They've been played, and their ego and hard-headedness, stiff-necked nature precludes them of realizing that they painted themselves into a corner that there is no way out. And it's going to get hellacious. And there is one solution and only one solution, and there isn't even 1 in a million Israelis that recognize it. Yeah. Well.
They're still with the rhetoric of, we're going to just go finish it ourselves.
Yeah, they are. Many of them are. Oh yeah, many of them are defiant, saying we're not bound by Trump's agreement. We're going to go finish this ourselves. If Israel were to go in and do something aggressive in Iran, the entire world would just squish Israel. Gone. And even if it continues to fight in Lebanon, Trump will squish Israel. And you can brag all you want, Netanyahu, but when you promoted Donald Trump as the second coming of Cyrus and say no American president's ever been as great to Israel, no person in the world's ever been as great to Israel, when we all knew that Trump was the Rahab, that he was the great betrayer of Israel, when you did that, you sealed the fate of your country. You are now the man who destroyed Israel. Touchdown.
Yep.
All right. We're going to go over this, but we showed this in the next two. You see what that is? That is a picture that was taken by the head of the Iranian parliament. He took a picture of each of the 3 pages of the signed memorandum of understanding. This happens to be page 2 of it. This is page 1 of it. You see over here in the corner, you've got a not a signature. It's just the initials. So it's initialed by the head of the Islamic Parliament of Iran, and it's initialed by Donald Trump. So on page 1 and page 2, and that's very common in legal documents. You're asked to initial each page so that page itself is memorialized. So in a legal document, you see both parties, the head of the Iranian parliament and POTUS of the United States, both of them have initialed page 1 and page 2. This happens to be page 1. We just showed you page 2. He's going to hold up page 3 with himself. I think the next slide should do it. Oh no, well, we got one here, but we'll find one here. But the fact is, he's holding up page 3. So that's all 3. So now we know, because we have Donald Trump's signature on it, and we have the Iranian signature on it, and we have the president of the Iranian parliament holding it up, that we know exactly what's on that document. No speculation now, no translation from a third party. That is the document that was signed by Donald Trump in Versailles. And I posted the full disclosure of that on the chat pages of yadayah.com. And on one of those versions, I posted one where I highlighted the difference. I went to the one that Saudi Arabia released yesterday, and then to the one that was actually signed. And there are some significant differences between the two, and I want to share those differences, and I want to talk about what the differences mean. The yellow here that's a difference. So this is one of the most important documents of our modern age. It is the new Treaty of Versailles. It will usher in the destruction of Israel. It is the betrayal of Israel. That is, its primary purpose is to betray Israel. And so it's important to know exactly what's on that document. And let's review it. So it begins, point one, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies. You see that and their allies? The and the allies were not on the document we reviewed yesterday. And their allies. Iran only has one ally in this war, Oman. And the United States has numerous allies, but primarily Israel. So what they're doing here is saying that Israel is bound by this agreement. That's a very significant change. In the current war, by signing this MOU, that didn't have that language in the other one, because this says that once it's signed, and now we see the signatures, that many of these points are binding. The ones that are binding are designated as already binding. This is not a memorandum of understanding where then you take these things and decide what you want to do with these points. There are many of these points that are binding upon the signing of this memorandum. We'll talk about those, and we'll talk about those that are to be negotiated later. But point one is valid. It's imposed, not by future negotiation, but by the signatures on it. So by signing this memorandum, it is declared the immediate and permanent termination of military operations. The previous one did not have that terminology. On all fronts, including Lebanon, and undertake from now and from this point, and not to initiate any war or any military operations. You know, the world now has all sorts of terms that they don't want to use war, so they've added or military operations twice against each other, and refrain from the threat or use of force. Trump we just read his own post where he says, I'm going to drop bombs in the middle of their head. That is a threat of force. He has already violated the initial clause of the agreement that he signed. Against each other and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. That's new. So that doesn't mean, before it just said including Lebanon. Now it talks about ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon, which means that for this, what Trump signed requires Israel to withdraw from Lebanon. It's not just to have an armistice there. It isn't just to stop the bombing. Israel must withdraw from the territory of Lebanon based upon this agreement, like a spanked dog with its tail between its legs. That's a huge change and exceedingly negative for Israel. The final deal will confirm. It doesn't say the final deal will be negotiated to change some of these terms. If the Donald doesn't like it, or if we don't behave, it says the final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and all other provisions of this paragraph. So the final agreement isn't to be negotiated as it relates to paragraph 1. It is to confirm paragraph 1. Do you understand? I mean, that's exceedingly different than the original language. And it requires the withdrawal of Israelis from Lebanon. That's pretty, and all fronts would also include Israelis withdrawing from Gaza and from Syria. Okay, so in this case, the difference between the agreement that Trump signed and the one that Saudi Arabia released is 100 times worse for Israel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complete betrayal of Israel. It's checkmate. It assures the destruction of Israel one way or the other. They only have 2 options now, and both of them that will lead to Israel's demise. So, and now point 1 is not negotiable. Now, Trump can't say it's a memorandum of understanding. If I don't like the New Deal, we'll start bombing them again. No, you don't have that. You have agreed to commit to this. This is all you can do in the final agreement is affirm this. You don't get to negotiate it. You get to affirm it. That's it. And I know Trump doesn't like to read, but that's what the words say. Number 2, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity and refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs, other than to correctly name both countries as opposed to U.S., which seems so weird, and just Iran. It now spells things out with the 2 countries. But other than that, it's the same. And of course, that is a huge loss for the United States, because the United States is in the regime change business. It's never been more aggressively in the regime change business than it is in Iran. Iran is the test case. America has been for 75 years manipulating in Iran and replacing governments for 75 years. The Ayatollah is an American project. The Shah was an American project. This regime change battle again was an American project. We had intelligence that said they're there, go kill the leadership. And so this says you can't do that in Iran. The United States and the Islamic Republic and Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in a maximum of 60 days, extendable by either party. What you'll find here, there are points that require negotiation. They're open. And there are points which are already agreed to, and they have to be brought forth and consummated before the negotiations even take place. Okay, so it's important to know those things. Okay, number 4. Immediately upon the signing of this memorandum of understanding, the United States of America will begin the removal of its naval blockade, and any disturbances or impediments against the Islamic Republic of Iran. So it's not just removing the blockade. Anything the United States could ever conceive of doing that would disturb or impede the Islamic Republic of Iran has to be eliminated. And they will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be in proportion to the numbers of pre-war traffic being restored by, now it says actually has those terms in there. The words last time said that Iran was going to be in charge. This one now is even clearer in that regard. The traffic is restored by, not the U.S., not a consortium of nations, by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The U.S. is conceding that the Straits of Hormuz belong to Iran. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic State of Iran. Now, that strait and the Persian Gulf is very narrow. Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia are all in proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a point to be negotiated. This is a point that they have agreed. The United States must leave all of those bases, must remove its Navy, must remove its Air Force, must withdraw its forces from all of those bases: Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, Saudi Arabia. How do you like that?
Probably Iraq.
Oh, yeah, the U.S. would have to leave Iraq. I'm not sure that the Iranians give two hoots about the 5,000 Americans that still are in Iraq, because they are target practice. And it gives the Iranians a ready target, and they're otherwise surrounded and meaningless there at this point. But you're right, it would also mean Iraq. You know that Trump on his G7 talked about Qatar and said, Qatar is Iran's closest land neighbor, and you can walk from one country to the other.
Right.
There's not one of these Arab fiefdoms, states with flags, that you can walk into Iran from. The closest would be Kuwait, but you still have to walk through Iraq from Kuwait. And the others do not have a land border with Iran.
Yeah.
He's geographically challenged. He's truthfully challenged. So anyway, they have to remove all U.S. forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. Number 5, upon signing of this, that wasn't there previously. Upon signing of this becomes effective. There's no negotiating. It's just once you've signed it, you're committed to it. Upon the signing of this memorandum of understanding, which we have now proof, we have pictures of his signature on it. We have pictures of him signing it at the Palace of Versailles. The Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts. So who's doing this? Iran. It's going to make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days. When we read yesterday, we heard yesterday from the Post, they said that they had psychiatrists that were feeding Trump that which he would agree to. This no charge was a big Trump thing, wasn't it? Wasn't it the other agreement? It got him to sign it. What does it say? No charge for how long?
60 days.
60 days. You got no charge for 60 days. Oh, by the way, we're giving you $325 billion and removing all sanctions up front for you to run the Strait for 60 days without fees. And by 30 days of that, you only have to let Iranian ships go through. So it's really 30 days of no transit fee. That's what they gave the dumpster. He can hold it up. It says no fees on transfer. Yep. For what will be 30 days, because for the first 30 days, it's only Iranian vessels that are going to go through. Oh, talk about getting skunked. Oh, my God. Yes, for 60 days. Only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start. Now, this is new language, and it's contradicted later in the statement. Will immediately start. Why? Because that's what Trump kept on saying. I want it to immediately start. So they gave him the bone that he wanted. 30 days of free transit and an immediate start. And considering the need to remove the technical and military obstacles and determining the Islamic State of Iran will be initiated within 30 days. So it's Iran that's in charge of the Strait, and they have 30 days to begin the process. So for 30 days, nothing happens, but he got the language. It's opened immediately, except they don't have to remove their mines, and they don't have to escort any ship through for 30 of those days. So they gave him the plum he was looking for immediately, even though when the paragraph itself contradicts it. So now you got 30 days to do whatever you want to. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue. This is all new, and this is stunning. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman. You know that the Iranians and the Omanis have already agreed that they will co-manage the Strait of Hormuz and charge those fees and tolls. That's why it has with them. to define the future administration and maritime services of the Strait of Hormuz.
Enter the window washers.
He just gave America's sanctification of Iran and Oman controlling the Strait of Hormuz and determining how it is controlled, and whatever fees or whatever tolls, whatever they wish to charge, that is up to them. Whatever rules they wish to impose, America just sanctified it. Isn't that amazing? In discussion with, so you got to chit chat with other Persian Gulf littoral states in line with the applicable international law and the sovereign rights of coastal states of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, by the way, the United States is not a signatory to the International Convention on Maritime Traffic. So it can't impose anything, can't dictate anything. It's not even a member. Iran's not a member either. So that's a little bit of a problem. And part of even that is that the Iranians already said, listen, we understand that by international standards, we can't charge a toll on the passage, but we can charge window cleaning services, environmental fees, guide services, pilot services. Well, there's all sorts of fees, and it's just going to come out and be exactly the same as it was. It's just going to have different names. And now that's sanctified. So point 5 went to a wholesale admission that the United States is turning the Strait of Hormuz over to Iran, and that they'll have 30 days where there will be no tolls. And after that, they can make whatever arrangements they want to with Oman. All they really have to do is give a copy of whatever arrangement they made with Oman, and which they've already made, by the way. And that would be dialogue with the other Arab, Persian Gulf littoral states. So that one, whoa, it just blew up.
Mm-hmm.
Strait of Hormuz remains under Iranian control. Number 6, the United States undertakes with regional partners to develop a definite, mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The mechanism for the implementation of this plan will be finalized as part of the final deal within 60 days. All that gets to be discussed is not the amount, not who's responsible for it, not who is the beneficiary. All that they get to discuss is the mechanism, what accounts the money comes from, how the money is delivered to Iran. That's all they get to discuss. All required licenses, waivers, permissions needed for the relevant financial transactions will be granted by the United States of America.
We're not sharing closing costs.
We're not sharing closing costs. This is not to be negotiated. The only thing to be negotiated here is the mechanism of the transaction. That's it. The United States is committed to $300 billion for the reconstruction of Iran. Cost $30 billion to destroy it, $300 million to build it back, and the United States is responsible and is committed to doing so, which means when Trump says he is not committed to doing so, he's lying. And this is not contingent upon Iran doing anything. Mm-hmm. This is not based upon good behavior. This is not based upon anything. Nothing. The United States is committed to doing this. Period. The United States of America undertakes to terminate is a much stronger word than was previously, all types of sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran, including the United Nations Security Council resolutions, IAEA, a Board of Governors resolutions, that would be the International Atomic Energy Association, and all unilateral U.S. sanctions, primary and secondary, and an agreed upon schedule as part of the final deal. So this doesn't say that they get to negotiate this and how they're going to play this out. It just says that all sanctions will be agreed upon in the final deal. So the U.S. is on record saying they're terminating all sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran. And that will be affirmed in the final deal. Doesn't say it'll be negotiated the final deal. It's affirmed in the final deal. Stunning. All primary sanctions, all secondary sanctions, and an agreed upon schedule is part of the final deal. The Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America acknowledge the critical importance of the sanctions and the termination issue above their expressed intentions to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve an agreement on them. There are parts of this, like the nuclear aspect of it, that the U.S. wants to negotiate, and what Iran says is the release of sanctions is paramount to us having a negotiation on the uranium. The sanctions have to be lifted before we'll even have any discussion with you. That's what that says. Pretty astounding. The Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it will not procure or develop nuclear weapons. So it's procure or develop nuclear weapons.
That's new.
It doesn't say they haven't procured or that they haven't developed, but that they shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. Now, Trump could say, I kept them from having a nuclear bomb. No, you didn't. They had no nuclear bomb before you bombed them. They had 20 years to develop their nuclear bomb. They said they were not, and they didn't. And so you did nothing to stop them. They didn't have one before, and all they're doing is they're reaffirming. So you see, the word reaffirm stayed the same. What Iran is saying is, you didn't convince us not to have a nuclear bomb. We said we were not going to build a nuclear bomb, and we're not going to build a nuclear bomb. There you go. All of this for that. And the Islamic Republic of Iran agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpile enriched material pursuant to the mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule memorialized in paragraph 7. So paragraph 7 is release of all sanctions. So Iran will negotiate this when all sanctions are relieved. And that they will immediately address the issues in negotiation in order to achieve a mutual agreement on them. So point 7 is the complete release of sanctions. If the U.S. when the U.S. does that, then there will be a negotiation between the two parties on Iran's nuclear fuel. So it's in accordance to the schedule mentions in paragraph 7, the minimum methodology to be downblending on site. The U.S. doesn't get to take it. It's not given to the United States. The methodology would be downblending on site and supervised by the IAEA. However, there's no discussion here on dismantling any of the centrifuges, which they have in 40 different locations. You can take and downgrade 450 kilos of uranium-235 to 20% fissile purity. And Iran's still mining it, still has all their centrifuges, so just make more. I mean, this is a nothing burger here.
Mm-hmm.
Point 9. Pending the final deal, the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree to maintain the status quo, which means that while they're negotiating this over the next 60 days or 120 days or however long it takes, the Islamic Republic can continue to make as much uranium, enriched uranium, to 90 or 100%, whatever they want. And the U.S. cannot interfere. They can't impose new sanctions. They can't do anything about it. The Iranians can continue to do whatever they've been doing. And so if you don't have a formalized affirmation of this deal, that Iran will just continue to enrich uranium, and there's nothing the U.S. can do about it. And so the only way that you can have any influence over Iran is by affirming this deal. Very clever, the Iranians, in that regard. The United States of America undertakes that immediately. Immediately means right now, upon the signing of this agreement, not to be negotiated, not to be delayed, not to have Iran show that they will behave. It says immediately upon the signing of this MOU, until the termination of sanctions, the U.S. Department of Treasury waivers for all export on Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives, and all the social services. So Iran now can sell everything that it produces at full market value, unencumbered by the United States, upon the signing of this deal. That is bigger than the $300 billion to Iran. Number 11, the United States of America undertakes to make fully available for the use of the frozen, restricted funds and assets of the Islamic Republic of Iran upon the implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding, not upon future negotiation, not upon proof that we can be trusted to do something with our uranium. Immediately, the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran will mutually agree to the procedures related to the release of these funds during the negotiation. Not to the satisfaction of anybody during the negotiations, they are released. Such funds, whether retained in the original account or transferred, should be made fully available for the payment of the ultimate beneficiary designated by the Central Bank of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States undertakes to issue all necessary licenses and authorizations accordingly. Point 12 is exactly as it was, that they will work out a mechanism for future discussions based upon the implementation of this MOU, not based upon Trump saying, okay, we signed that, but now we're going to go back to the terms that I want to, and I'm going to impose the terms again like he did the previous time. No, it's only on the implementation of this MOU, the implementation of this agreement that is so destructive to Israel, so grossly. I mean, this is worse than the Treaty of Versailles in terms of the surrender. Point 13, after signing the MOU, which is now signed, and subject to beginning the implementations of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11. Guess what wasn't included in that list of paragraphs the previous time? 1. What is 1? The checkmate of Israel.
Lebanon and threats.
Yep. And 4 and 5, 10, and 11. 4 and 5 says that the Iranians can control the Strait of Hormuz, and they have to have 60 days of toll-free passage. 10 and 11 says that the United States has to remove all sanctions, and they have to release all of the 25 billion in frozen Iranian assets. So in other words, 4 and 5 come with a price tag, and that's the price tag. And 1 is the thing they want the most, which is the checkmate on Israel. And they start negotiations regarding the final exclusivity. So the negotiations, the start of negotiations regarding the final deal will be exclusively on the other paragraphs. So there's no negotiation of 1, 4, and 5, which give control over the straits to Iran, and 10, 11, which is the elimination of all sanctions and return of Iran's frozen assets. There will be no negotiation whatsoever on paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11. And the only negotiation that can take place is on the other paragraphs, which means you cannot negotiate with diminishment of their missiles, or their funding of Hezbollah or of the Houthis. Everything else is excluded except the statements here, and there's only one of them that is any benefit to America, which is that Iran won't have a nuclear bomb. But that's all they can discuss, is that what happens with the existing stockpile, and they cannot even discuss Iran's continued ability to run centrifuges or to mine uranium. All they have is a pledge that we will not procure or build a nuclear bomb. It's worse than Versailles. So there it is, Israel. You've been checkmated. America, you have surrendered. You've had wars that you lost, and you walked out with your tail between your legs. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya. There's lots of wars that America has lost, but it's never had to sign a surrender document. This is the first time America has ever signed a surrender document.
Or pay for cleaning up its mess.
Or pay for cleaning up its mess. Or enriching an enemy. Pretty astonishing. What do you think about that, Roger?
Well, I think the rest of the world is watching what's going on here and seeing just how easily Trump's being manipulated on this. This is it's just incredibly bad. I can't even imagine anything. If you'd have told me a couple of days ago that's what I was going to say, no way.
No way.
But yeah, it's an incredibly strong document. I don't think he might be able to talk his way out of it with his MAGAs, but this is going to go a long way towards people seeing who Trump really is.
Yeah, I've listened to Newsmax and Fox News continue to portray Trump as the great negotiator and the man that ended a war, a miracle worker, and all of that sort of thing. And it's pure toxic delusion. But apart from those who have Trump derangement syndrome, which is they're deranged regarding Trump, the world knows, everybody knows that this was total and complete surrender, and that Trump is out of his mind, that he is a madman, and that he lost bitterly, and that nothing he says can be trusted. How'd you like to be one of the Iranians that decided that they would trust Trump to overturn their regime, and you protested, and your son or daughter was in prison and killed, and then Trump talked about how brilliant and how wonderful the Iranian regime was, and how bright they were, and what a pleasure they were to negotiate with, and that he has great respect for them and is giving them
They have
now
a bright future.
full sanctions relief and $325 billion, and total control over the Strait of Hormuz, so that they can put whatever fees they want after 60 days. How would you feel like? What would you feel like if you're one of those people? How would you feel like if you were a parent of a service man or woman who was killed in this conflict? How would you feel if you were a fiefdom and the flags, private estates with flags of Qatar, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates? You were bombed because of Trump's war, and held hostage because of Trump's war, and he has just empowered your enemy over you, so that you are now a vassal of Iran. How would you feel? And that the United States is abandoning those bases?
Well, terrible. I mean,
just terrible.
It's just terrible. I mean, I think smart people are starting to recognize, who Trump really is. I think this is going to go a long way towards cementing that opinion. I don't see how he gets out of this politically. I really don't.
Well, he obviously has another 7 years to live, because he is the Toraless one. He is the person that Christians know as the Antichrist. He is going to move to Jerusalem in 2030. So Israel is going to be as Israel has always been: hard-headed, stubborn, belligerent, unwilling to listen. We proved through the prophets that Trump was this fellow, and he was going to betray them, and now he has betrayed them. This was not an accident that Israel is the top line of this agreement. They are point one. They are the dominant factor of this agreement. Trump could not have pursued this without knowing that he is betraying Israel. He had to want to betray Israel for this to occur. And Israel had to be complicit. They had to play into it. And they did. and they were checkmated. And you have no future, Israel. None. And individually, you can return to Yahweh, which is never going to happen as a nation, ever. The Marxists aren't going to return to Yahweh. They don't even know who he is. The religious are not even welcome. Even if they wanted to, God would preclude them. And the overtly political, that would be the same. So 80+% of Israel's not even in the conversation where they can wake up and return. 20% of you are. You can go to yadayah.com. You can learn who Yahweh is and what he is offering, what he expects in return. You can find out who you actually are and what the future holds for you. There's a book in the series called Et Sarah, Time of Trouble. 825 pages. Read it. Know what the prophets told you was going to happen. We know what's going to happen. We've written what's going to happen. And soon I'll publish the Coming Home volumes 4, 5, and 6 that tell you your future and explain to you your past. So that is the chance for 20% of Israelis. Of that 20%, it's going to be in the handful of thousands that are going to survive. Handful of thousands amongst 15 million Jews worldwide and 7.5 in Israel. That's what you're up against. And literally, you need to finally admit you played yourself into a corner. There's no way out. Just as we said constantly when you and Trump decided to attack Iran again, that there was no way out. You were going to lose. Surrender was the only option. Now we're telling you the same thing, but it's even worse this time. Because now Iran has pinned you against in a situation where your only military and political ally is now your enemy with America, where you can't win. If you oppose America, you're done immediately. And if you don't oppose America and you let down your defenses, then you will be destroyed within the next 7 years. And without Israel, there's no safety for a Jew anywhere in the world. So if you're saying, well, I live in New York, I live in California, I live in Florida, big deal to me. You destroy Israel, which is what this does. Then you're back in the situation of Jews before the Holocaust. And don't think it won't happen. Anti-Semitism is far worse right now than it was during the Holocaust. Much more overt, much more popular, much more widespread, much more deeply felt. And it's being promoted by Marxists, by Christians, and by Muslims. There's of socialists in the world today, there's well over 1 billion, about 1.5 billion. 2.5 billion Christians, 2 billion Muslims. It's the majority of the world, vast majority of the world, hate you. And you did this to yourselves. So are you in a position where you're actually going to face reality? That you rejected God, you wrote his name out of your lives, you erased his name. You don't know that Dod is his beloved son, his chosen one. You don't know even what that means. You don't know that he's the one that fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bekurim, or what those days represent. You don't know that he's returning as king. And what you don't know is going to destroy you. What did Hosea write? My people are destroyed.
Destroyed for lack of knowledge.
You don't know these things. And you can continue to be belligerent and to accept the rabbis and accept their politicians and accept the IDF. But you need to know that the IDF is run by Marxists. You need to know that your government has betrayed you. You need to know that the rabbis are thugs, that they're parasites. You've got a really dysfunctional situation, Israel.
It's time to stand up.
Yeah, Israel Security Cabinet officials frustrated with U.S.-Iran MOU. You did this to yourselves. So what if you're frustrated? Are you going to deal with it or not? You did this to yourselves. Nobody else to blame. Your prophets told you that Trump was Rahab and you paid no attention to it.
Officials frustrated.
And maybe we find another topic here. I'll talk about anything else that you. Oh my!
The
G7.
G7, yeah, against
G7 announced that Israel must engage in a ceasefire in Lebanon. There you go.
I'm sure we'll get right on that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, what now? You have the G7 going all in on Iran's side. Get out, Israel. You cannot defend yourself against Hezbollah anymore. Take those rockets.
Mhm.
But you did this to yourself. Yeah, the U.S. has. I don't know if the U.S. has ever released the official document, but the very moment that the head of the Iranian parliament held it up and had the pictures taken of it with Trump's signature, it was all over.
Mhm.
At that point, I have compared that picture to what I just read with you. They are identical.
Ugh.
Now here is somebody, David Horowitz, Times of Israel. Trump's deal is a catastrophic capitulation to Iran's aggressors, leaving Israel's vulnerable and constrained. Yeah, isolated, vulnerable. Checkmate, sir. I know if you're in Israel, you don't want to say it's checkmate, but that's what it is. It's checkmate. It's over.
Mhm.
You have no move. That's what checkmate means, is that there is no move left on the board for you that you don't lose. And in this case, it's you're losing your country. Next 7 years is going to be brutal for Israel. When Trump went off and said, I'm going to drop bombs on their head if I don't like the way they behave, he violated the first term of his own agreement. Turns out you can't trust Satan. Who knew?
Yeah. And all the people saying that Israel owns the White House, that Israel's making decisions, right? I mean,
yeah. So
where are those
how do
people
you?
again?
Listen, the conspiratorialists are thoughtless. So
Yes.
they'll say anything under any circumstances. But all of you, like Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens or Nick Fuentes, and all of those talking heads that pretend to be smart because you had some position in the military long ago, and you want to trade off of that, and you've attacked Israel for controlling the U.S. and controlling Trump. Trump just checkmated Israel. He didn't include them in the negotiations. He called them effing idiots, and he signed an agreement that guarantees the demise of Israel. And you want to claim that Israel controls the United States. If you had any integrity, you would just say, we were dead ass wrong. I apologize. I was obviously wrong. But they won't.
No,
Why do so many people believe such stupidity? It's all from Revelation. They want to make Revelation so real now. And Revelation is really nothing but a crappy job of plagiarizing and paraphrasing. Its primary source is the book of Ezekiel, which is satanic. I mean, literally satanic. The presentation of its God is from the occult. It is from the astrological pagan beliefs and the pagan gods of Babylon. That's how their God is presented. The primary theme of the book and the first 2/3 of it is 25 ways to torture and kill Jews. In that first 2/3, there is 2 grotesque rape scenes where the Satan is graphic in raping Jewish women. I mean, it's really graphic. And the final 1/3 is Satan replacing the Moedim of Yahweh with his own festivals, and adding Do Nothing Day and Full Moon Day and All Idiots Day. And then on top of all of that, he takes and pretends that the Temple Mount doesn't even exist. Jerusalem doesn't exist. We're going to wipe it out. We're going to pave over all of Jerusalem, most of Judea, bury what was the Temple Mount. And we're going to build this monstrosity with the Coppercon, Measure Man, Donald Trump being the real estate developer for the naming rights of this new temple. It is purely satanic, and the book that is plagiarized most commonly in Revelation 38 times is Ezekiel. So this is it's nothing but religious trash, and it's obviously not true. It was so easy to prove that Ezekiel isn't true.
Mm-hmm.
And why do people believe this rot? I mean, you're just being played for a fool.
Well, leading up to today, if you wanted to live, you pretty much had to in certain parts of the world. Middle Ages, you didn't agree with the church, you weren't allowed very long.
Yeah, it's true. You're tortured to death.
Tortured you to death. So, a lot of it's indoctrination and fear.
Yeah. I understand how Christianity came into being. Paul, who wrote the first 14 books, and the next 3 were written by his publicists and his propagandists, his faith healer, that Paul created the myth of Jesus. He called the myth of Jews killing Jesus. And he misquoted God, but the people he was writing to didn't know any better. They still don't know any better. Mm-hmm. And I understand that Paul died completely alone and embarrassed, unable to convince anybody during his life. But I also understand that there were Romans that saw that they could manipulate this, beginning with Marcion, and that this was a variation of paganism and Gnosticism, and this could be used to control people. And they used it. And they didn't have to convince very many people to believe this nonsense. And then in the early 4th century, at Nicaea, the emerging Roman Catholic Church voted on the deification of Iesou Christou. That was the purpose. Before then, he had just been a man. They voted to deify him, to make God a man. And after a while, the Romans realized that this was really a very effective control mechanism. And it was Theodosius that imposed Christianity as the only authorized religion of the Roman Empire. And at the same time, he imposed feudalism. And it became nothing but a control mechanism. There's nothing more powerful than religion and politics merged. And the merger was of this beast. And once they were merged, then politics and religion merged, and and that was the only legal version. And they just simply imposed terror to get people to capitulate. And most people won't stand up to terror. Very few people will. And you do that long enough, and the people finally just give up. They won't fight it anymore. And you finally get to a point where you can remove the terror, but people are so indoctrinated that they can't think themselves out of their plight. I mean, it's so obvious that Christianity isn't true. I mean, God's not a man. Men cannot kill God. Bodily resurrection is counterproductive. Every citation in the New Testament of the Torah, prophets, and Psalms is erroneous. There's no mention of a Jesus. There's no mention of a Christ anywhere in the Torah, prophets, and Psalms. He cannot be the big kahuna if there's no mention of the kahuna.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just obviously false, every bit of it. And Paul commits all manner of rational fallacies, and he even admits he's demon-possessed. And you can't think your way out of that. So after a while, it's just conditioning and people not being able to think their way out of the society they were born into. But before that, it was terror. Yeah. Before that, it was a pile of lies designed for people who were ignorant and would believe them, because that pile of lies was the same gods by different names in a very appealing format that Paul wrote. It was a really clever lie that he created. But it would only be sold on those who had no clue what the Torah, prophets, and Psalms actually said. And so that's how it all came to be, and now you got 2.5 billion people fooled by what is satanic.
Wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look at
today-
the birth of Islam. Same, even worse.
Yeah, today you go to small town America, you got a steeple on every corner just about.
Yeah. you do.
Everybody in the town is Christian.
Mhm.
If you move there, you're kind of expected to be that,
Right.
So it's got its claws in even today pretty heavily.
Correct. Even though in major cities, Christianity is on the way out. It's as a religion in America, it's gone from like 90+% of Americans were Christians and acknowledged they were Christians, down to about 35% today. So Christianity is dying as a religion. Islam would die too, but you die if you renounce the religion. So most people have a tendency not to sacrifice their own lives just to renounce a religion, so they go along. But in Christianity, where there's no longer the penalty of death for renouncing the religion is failing at a very rapid rate. But it couldn't happen fast enough.
Yeah.
Okay, my friend, we'll do one more. And thank you, Roger, for participating. I'm sorry to be so detailed in the presentation of the memorandum of understanding, but I thought it was important to go over. This is the final version of it. We have absolute verification. This is the final version, and it is across the board hugely worse for Israel and for the
I think
United
it's important
States.
to get it out. It's important to get it out there, people know. Yeah.
Yeah, they know about it. Look at this sweet girl next door. And she signs up because somebody fed her a bunch of bullshit on patriotism and on the military. And she signs up for this, and she comes back in a coffin. Oh, isn't it so wonderful that she's saluted by the other buffoons who have been suckered into the same deal? Join the Navy, become a pirate. Join the military, become a thug. Work for Satan. See how it works out for you. And the fact is that everything about militaries around the world, and is particularly true in the United States, is untrue. They aren't protectors of freedom. They rob freedom. They aren't productive. They are destructive. Don't do it. Don't join. Don't participate. Be in opposition to it. There is no circumstances where the United States military ensured American liberty. It destroys it. And it doesn't build America's reputation in the world. It eviscerates it. And the American military has lost every war, including Korea and Vietnam, lost in Libya, losing in Ukraine, Afghanistan, Iraq, and now in Iran. We lost to the Houthis, for crying out loud. America's military has lost every war.
Yep.
A lot of money squandered. Here, America's military squandered $30 billion to lose a war where the reparations were $325 billion. And the ceding of the Strait of Hormuz to the very people who did not control it before the war. And at the same time, surrendering the fate of your only real ally in Israel.
Well,
Don't
these
do it.
poor,
Go ahead, Roger.
these poor kids, that they're seducing into this. I watched a commercial the other night. Had to watch it. It's on TV, and it was a picture of a guy. You only see the guy. You saw his hands, and he was sitting on the back of a truck, and he was firing off a Browning M2 machine gun, which is the biggest machine gun that you can get, downrange for about 15 or 20 seconds. And that was their kicker to come join the Army. Right? I guess it was the Marine Corps, actually. So they're promoting a culture of death, and it starts in the commercials, and it goes on through the training, and then and I saw it in my kids. Yeah.
It's a terrible thing, and it leaves a permanent scar.
Sure does.
on the people who do it, and it's all based upon propaganda and lies, and it's a real travesty that we get sucked into this, and that it costs our nation, or any nation, the flower of its youth. There's no heroism in what happened. That's a life squandered, and it's a shame. And the organization exists to destroy and kill. That's the only purpose of the organization: to destroy, control, and kill. And that there's no benefit in any of those things. Words wisely wielded, understanding, are so much more powerful and productive. But nope, we don't do that anymore. And now America has a commander-in-chief who is a thief, who is a confabulator, who is demonic, who is a psychopath. So why would you want to be part of that? And the saddest thing was, and I predicted it at the time, when Trump had his meeting with the 800 generals and flag officers and admirals, I said, I know the culture here because I had a 3-star on 09. 08, I guess, is a 3-star, as my chief of staff in my last business. And so I knew the lifestyle of these people, flying around private airplanes, private chauffeurs, private chefs, luxury estates, plus big salaries and huge retirement plans, and the opportunity to be paid millions of dollars as board members and consultants and lobbyists for the military-industrial complex after the fact. It's a gravy train, and those who make it to the top politically don't want to give that up. So when there was 800 flag officers, and Trump and Hegseth were pounding their chests and said, we just turned the Department of Defense and the Department of War, and we're calling on you to be willing to fight in America against my enemies, which would be anybody that opposed Trump. That's where we're going to deploy you. And if you're going to oppose me, you need to resign right now. And I said at the time that fewer than 10% will have the conscience to resign, the character to resign. There were 8 of them. 8 of 800. That's 1%. So the senior officers of the U.S. military are scummier than everyone else. It's a swamp.
You don't get to be that rank if you don't play the game.
Nope. And they're in it up to their eyeballs. They're not to be trusted. They would go to war in the United States, and they will be called to war in the United States. When Trump loses Congress in the midterms, he's going to have martial law to keep from having elections 4 years hence to stay in the White House through 2030. And so it's going to be martial law. He's going to use ICE, which is his own private military, and he's going to use the U.S. military to impose martial law and to oppose him being booted from power. He's not going to get that ballroom built in the next 2 years. So and that the Arc de Trump of the Fourth Reich isn't going to be built in the next 2 years. He is planning on being there through 2030, at which time he's going to go to Israel. And we are the only people that figured it out after
right.
The prophets had revealed it all. And here we are saying it, and it's just hell on wheels getting people to listen, particularly in Israel or even the United States, that you figured it out, you laid it on the line, you proved it all, and people continue to let the orchestra play on. Build that ballroom, build the Ark of the Fourth Reich. What do we care? Continue to fund the brown shirts of the private militia of a psychopath. Continue to join the army. The recruitment's up. Join the army, join the Air Force, become a thug, work for a thug. He's the boss,
Yeah, that's what he said.
I want to close with this comment because we spent a lot of time on the dumpster Rahab. when you're dealing with a psychopath, anybody within the cluster B family of mental disorders, there's only three ways that you can deal with them. Only three. One is to oppose them. Now, if you oppose them, they're going to come after you. You will make them worse. When you oppose a psychopath, they become vicious. And so you will bring out every ounce of their hatred if you oppose them. And that's what the Dems are doing, and doing it poorly. So you have to be really careful. We are duty bound to oppose them. I have no choice. That's the part of the job. It's written in the prophets. So I have to oppose them. But, I'm a civilian, not an elected individual. But opposing them puts you in a position like everyone else that has opposed Trump. He devours them. The Dems are afraid to go after. Even the mainstream media won't go after him. They'll dance all around it because they're just absolutely petrified of him. But one is to oppose them. It's not going to work. It's going to make it worse. The other is to appease them. To say, well, there's some good in this, or we're going to, be like Fox News and the new CBS or Newsmax and all the little talking heads of the recreation of TASS. Remember when TASS was the official media of the Soviet Union, and it presented nothing but propaganda? Well, that's what Fox News and CBS and the Newsmax and the like have become. They're the official propagandist channels of the Trump administration. So the other is to appease him. But you appease a psychopath and you play right into their delusions. They become much worse when you try to accommodate them. The third is to ignore them. And that will drive them absolutely batshit crazy. But it is the only way that actually works. It's painful, doesn't work fast. But the best thing that the news media could do with this psychopath, Satan incarnate, is to ignore them. Let us take it on the chin. We've got big shoulders and backing on high to take him on. We'll take him on. The rest of the world should just ignore him. The best of all options. And I've dealt with this now all of my adult life, from the time I was a very young man in my early teens. I've been up against this. And what most people don't realize is that the narcissist and the psychopath have deep-seated insecurities. They see the ego and they think that there's confidence there, but there isn't. The ego is a mask for deep-seated insecurities. And that is what's always driving them. And that's why if you feed into it, you make it worse. And if you oppose it, then you're threatening to remove the mask, and that is frightening to them. So it's always deep-seated insecurities. Trump deep down knows exactly who he is, that he is a fraud, that he is demon-possessed, that he made a deal with the devil. And he knows that he is a con man, and he knows that nothing that he says is true. But it's his insecurities that cause him to do everything he can to cover it up with the opposite of what's true. And so those are the three ways that you can deal with this monster. And the only one that will prevail is to ignore him. And that's going to be tough for people to do, because the Dems have no clue how to respond to him. The media has no clue how to respond to him. And, this most recent thing where he says, if they don't play along and do what I want, I'm going to bomb the middle of their heads. And him saying that there's no agreement in there to give Iran $300 billion. It's such an egregious, outright lie, or violation of his own agreement, that there's no reason you should try to analyze this kind of a person. You shouldn't report anything they say as having any credibility at all. You shouldn't try to analyze them. To the greatest extent possible, just ignore them. Don't send anyone to the White House. And he can yabber all he wants and no one's going to hear him. It's tough for the world to do, but that's what needs to be done. All right. Well, I thank you for a great program. We've done 2 hours and 30 minutes. That's a long program. Roger, thank you for being with us and all of this. Always great to have you as part of this program.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Yeah, love your essays on the Torah as well. Thank you for doing them. And Kevin, great work behind the scenes and in front of the scenes and all the things that you're doing to keep this family together. We appreciate you, and thank you, Rich, for managing the controls behind the scene. We're grateful. Couldn't do this without you.
Not a problem.
Good day.
Good day.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.